I have a couple things to say in response to Mr. Repzion's recent video, where he seems to think that feminists should be focusing more on domestic violence against men being glamorized in an ad he saw. The problem I have with your video, and most of your videos when you mention feminism, is that rather than talk about the issue that you seem to be concerned about, you frame every discussion as, there was some straw feminist boogeyman who said this isn't a big deal. The focus always seems to be anti-feminist rather than pro whatever the issue is that you consider to be so important that feminists should be altering their activism to address. It comes across a little too MRA, using real issues as a smokescreen when your intention is to demonize and rant about feminists. If you care so much about the subject, make a video dedicated to that subject, period. Derailing like this just takes the focus off that thing that you claim to care about so much. There's this great quote on Tumblr that I'm going to paraphrase. If the only time you bring up male victims is to derail women talking about female victims, you probably don't care too much about male victims in the first place. Now, I know that you do care about male victims and that you've been a victim of abusive relationships yourself, so I'm not going to suggest that you don't care. However, this is a pretty typical tactic used by men to take over feminist spaces. Now, that's not to say that I don't think that male victims of domestic violence are important. There's a time and a place for discussion of everybody's issues. And if you'd like your issues to be taken seriously, the best course of action is to give them their own space, free of the potential for getting caught up in completely irrelevant debate about whether or not some feminists said some awful thing this one time. Speak about them on their own terms, without butting in and taking over the few times women are actually able to speak about their issues uninterrupted. We've seen studies that show that when women are talking less than half the time in a group, they're considered to be dominating the discussion. So when women speak about the frequency of glamorization of domestic violence being used to sell products in the media, and I'm talking about being showed bruised and bloody in a fabulous outfit, inevitably, a man always shows up to show that one incredibly abnormal commercial that depicts a man being beat by a woman in her underwear in a slapstick manner. A joke based on the idea that generally fragile and weak women are so obsessed with clothes that they suddenly develop superhuman strength. According to this man, we're supposed to completely restructure the way that we advocate for ourselves so that men can finally have a forum to talk about their problems. Men, you have a forum. It's called the mass media, government, large corporations, history books, everything that was written by men that is primarily focused on. I suggest if you have a problem with the way primarily male advertising execs are choosing to portray men, you take it up with them, not with feminists, because this is something that feminists do not condone. As a feminist in the industry, I would never write this commercial. I would never glamorize or make light of domestic violence in my writing, period. And while my primary focus in my feminist activism is eliminating the oppression of women, a wonderful fringe benefit for the men in my life is that I'm not down with promoting any behaviors that I abhor when committed against women when they're committed against men. I don't seek to bring men down with my feminism, but to lift women up. I don't want more male victims of rape so that we're even. I don't want men to make less money so that we're even. I want as much rape eliminated as possible. I want everybody to get paid a fair wage. The things I learned through feminism do not just affect how I treat women or how I feel women should be treated, but how I also treat men. And for the record, there's a huge difference in recognizing the reality of domestic violence and dismissing domestic violence against men. Just because I state that women are more likely to be hospitalized or murdered by their intimate partner does not mean that I think that the violence done against men by their female partners is okay. I don't believe that violence is ever justified, except in self-defense, and only then if you use adequate force to subdue and escape the situation. So yeah, when an MRA brings up an example of a woman slapping them first, and then act like that gives the man the license to beat the crap out of her, no, I absolutely don't condone that. The context in the situations in which feminists are supposedly advocating for women being able to hit men is kind of important. So to try to sum it up, stop with the straw feminism BS. So you know some horrible feminists. I know horrible people in pretty much every group I can think of. I'm not here to defend those people for saying gross things I don't agree with that don't reflect my feminist beliefs. They need to shut up for a minute and actually learn what feminism is about. And if you care about male victims of domestic violence, give them the respect of having their own platform. Don't force them to share the spotlight with your grudge against feminism. You get a lot more accomplished advocating for the cause rather than acting like an anti-feminist reactionary.